Hello everyone, I'm Akanksha Meena, editor of Labels and Labeling Middle East and North Africa, Brand Print and Gulf Print Pack, and I'd like to welcome you to today's session entitled Smart Use of Digital Print Technologies in the MEA region. This is the second in our series of virtual roundtable discussions designed to tackle the pressing issues in the commercial and large format printing industry in MEA. As we already know, this region, along with everywhere else in the world, was significantly impacted by the impact of COVID-19. However, it has been one of the first to recover, in part due to the swift and effective vaccination program, and also because the borders reopened for business. And of course, for the region's label and package printing and commercial printing industry, Gulf Print and Pack 2021 will be a vital part of the recovery. So coming to the purpose of today's discussion is to explore how the printing industry is using smart technologies and to kickstart that industry recovery in MEA. And I'm very happy to say that we have a fantastic panel here to do that today. And I'd like to begin by introducing them. So first we have Mr. Halim El-Khoury, Business Manager of Large Format Print in UAE and KSA at HP. Mr. Halim.
So I'm based in Dubai. As you said, I manage the large format, which is comes latex and stitch for UAE and Saudi Arabia. I've been with HP since almost 6 years now. I used to manage different territory, and previously I used to work in IT field and in different country like Saudi, Lebanon, Egypt, Qatar. That's all for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Ayman Aly, Senior Marketing Manager at Canon Middle East. Ayman, please.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Ayman Aly. I'm Senior Marketing Manager at Canon Middle East. I'm responsible actually of two areas. The first one is professional printing area, which is toner-based laser production printers, wide format printers, and commercial inkjet printers. In the meantime, I'm heading the B2B marketing team. So this helps me a lot to understand how marketing people challenges and link it to printing as well, which is for me it's a great experience. I joined Canon almost 13 years now. I have around 23 years experience in the digital printing industry. And thank you for having me here in this webinar.
Great. Next we have Mr. Philip Hasni, General Manager at Helios OC Emirates. Philip?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So I've been running this company for almost 17 years here. We focus on large format, everything large format. We work very close to Canon, essentially on all of the OC large format products. So flatbeds, roll-to-roll, etc. We've also, a few years ago, we ventured more into the textile, and we have now quite a significant presence in the textile business, both signage and fashion, what I call fashion, which really is the clothes industry. And I look forward to this roundtable.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you. Lastly, but not the least, we have Mr. Shehab Zubair, who is the Regional Sales Manager at Epson Europe. Shehab.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to see you all around this table. My name is Shehab, as you said. I'm managing the commercial and industrial business at Epson Middle East. Covering the whole Middle East region, working with Epson for the last 13 years now. I have a total of 18 years of experience on the printing industry. Managing the commercial industry, when we say commercial industry, so it's including all the large format, which is mentioned by the gentleman. In addition to that, we have our high production textile, which is known as Mona Lisa, robust steady product, and including our labeling also industrial machine that we have in addition to all the commercial and large format printers. looking forward again to have this successful roundtable.
Thank you so much, Shahab. So welcome everybody, and thank you for introducing yourselves. We are now going to begin the roundtable discussion, and I would like to start with our first question. So COVID-19 has generally been a very disruptive force in all of our lives, and of course that has impacted all of us. So how has it impacted your MEA business in the region? Halim, would you like to take it first?
Yeah, if I may comment on this very common question these days in all business and even our lives. See, the way we see it at HP, our partners and customers have been affected, but at the same time, they demonstrated a high level of resilience. We identified different level of challenges according to every country specific needs. So we see difference between country to country, definitely. Some have really grown business during this tough period. Some managed a high level of resilience and maintained the business, while very few still flat. During that COVID situation, which is not yet over, we've seen changes in the dynamic of the business. But we're still available as HP. We managed to adapt quickly and get the best of the situation. For example, we have the remote management, remote installation, virtual demo and training. So these tools help us a lot with the partners, to overcome the current situation. In addition, we have what's called the virtual booth, which I encourage you and everyone who will attend that webinar later to go and visit it. That's the way we see it, and thank you.
So do you see any lasting changes because of the experience that you gained during the COVID-19 pandemic?
As we said, the remote management, remote installation, virtual demo and training, which is we start doing it, it will be part going in line with, let's say, with the physical installation or physical training. So this thing, we see it will go, not replacing maybe on the short run, but it will continue in parallel.
Okay. Shihab, would you like something to add to the topic?
Yeah, of course. I mean, COVID is affecting everybody, of course, and nobody can say it's not affected our business. But like any other crisis, I would say always these crises and issues that we have is also having its benefit and opportunities. We gain a lot of experience from remote management, remote training, virtual training, also to understand the needs and how we can offer our customers and with this challenging time, how we can offer them a better solution. Actually, we found there's a lot of surveys happen during these days, especially after the COVID, and we found also the way of people and our customers, how they are changing the way of thinking and the way of doing the business. According to a survey, that's around 89% people there now really care about now sustainability and let's say a better, a greener and better sustainable product and technologies, which is maybe it was not really popular in our region before. I would say, especially in our region, when I speak about the Middle East, people now they think about the energy, about the CO2s, and about all the effects that we have our machine that we are causing using it. So I think it's an opportunity for us. We saw some of the market segment are really growing, to be honest, in the COVID, which is very strange, but we understood the reason why after we dig a little bit and we understand the reason. Some of the segment, of course, are I would say affected more than others. Like, for example, the photo market, like especially we have Canon here, and understand like people, they're not using a lot of photo anymore, because photo is mainly coming from, let's say, wedding, education, or traveling and tourists, and these are all the segment which is the most affected during the COVID. So to summarize it, I think COVID, it was a very challenging year, or the COVID year, I would say, like 2020, but it's creating a lot of opportunity, and we have to think all together as an industry leaders, I would say, how we can offer our customers a better solution to overcome these challenges with our customers. And this is what we did actually in the last year, and we are continuing doing that.
Okay, Great. Philip, how did this pandemic impact your business? What are your thoughts?
Yes, it has certainly impacted in quite a drastic way. And if I can maybe look at it both two things on a practical way, you get less face-to-face interaction with customers. There's less physical interaction. It's more remote. You have more online meetings, as was said, but also you have less demos and less sample printing. There's less of these type of requirements. And I think the second aspect, which is more crucial, is this short-term versus long-term approach. I think the whole world, and certainly our industry, has gone from a long-term approach, from long-term view, into a shorter term outlook. I mean, pretty much all of us here have got the virus, or have got. I've gotten. I think I know some of you have gotten the virus. I did, and it changes your outlook on life. Suddenly, you realize that something as small as an invisible virus can threaten your own life, your life of your colleagues, etc. And I think the whole world has changed from looking at long-term investment into short-term investments. We are now seeing people focusing on short-term investments, short-term outlook. And I can give you an example, which I think will not offend anybody in this room. But take Mimaki. Mimaki is a great brand, but we are seeing a lot of people who used to buy Mimaki as a known brand shifting to different brands, to lesser known brands. That's one example. So basically looking at cheaper investments, shorter outlook, shorter term outlook in life. This is what we feel is happening.
Okay, thanks, Philip. Ayman, what's happening at Canon? How did this impact you?
Actually, I think the team here covered most of the points. I'll take it from customer point of view. Actually, what happened, how this pandemic affected the customer, because again, the customer, we are all here because of the customer. So I think the shock that we all had made every one of us and the customer and our customers as well review their priorities and how they look at the business, to be honest. So now, for example, financing became a big demand for customers, because everyone during the pandemic was after the top priority of cash flow. Everyone was after maintaining a healthy cash flow, because transactions stopped, business almost stopped for almost 3 months all over the world. So cash flow was a big challenge. So now the customers even stayed after that to think about cash flow serviceability as well. Customer now is, when we talk to him, like, if I'll go back to lockdown, what I'm going to do? What kind of tools that you will help me with? Total cost of ownership as well, because before, when the market was good, business was good, the customer is okay to adapt new technologies just to try it, or to add another machine because volumes are good. But now the customer is very critical in how this machine will help me, when I can make return on investment of this machine. So a lot of questions now that we are witnessing with the customer, that requires from us as a vendors and manufacturers to adapt with this and to cope with this. Yes, pandemic affected the market size. I think most of the printing categories was affected heavily from market size. But the good thing, just before the second wave, if I may say, that I witnessed in digital printing part some recovery of volumes towards Q4 last year, faster than other printing equipment, like, for example, office copiers and so. That gives an indication that digital printing is positive, not positively affected, but is recovering faster. We witnessed some big shift as well from offset traditional volume to digital, because again, the pressure on runs and short runs moved good volume to digital. We witnessed as well that commercial inkjet now people are considering, because to take a decision to buy a big offset machine with big investment, we still have the volume that and the runs that can justify, or we need some agility and fast turnaround solutions that can help us to cover this. So I think, as overall, we learned a lot from last year. We were impacted because business size was impacted, volumes were dropped across. But we witnessed as well that many customers stayed with their technology. However, in some areas, I give like, and I think the team Shihab and Halim can comment as well, might be the size of roll-to-roll, for example, of the market dropped, but we witnessed some customers grew their volumes due to a higher demand for advisory signage and distancing and so on. Yes, customer didn't buy the machine, but we witnessed some growth in volumes, especially in this area as a result of pandemic. So it was a mixed impact. Some was positive, some was not really impacted in a positive way. But I think the experience and 2021 with what we got and learned and adapted as well from service and support and remote service, and I think the team talked about now it is a must. Used to be an optional or something nice to have. Now it is a must to support the customer remotely and to give the right and to keep the machine up and running all times during lockdown or after lockdown and so on. So yeah, it was a big year and we learned a lot and we adapted a lot. And the good thing as well that proved that digital printing in specific is a good potential area, that I think all the brands invested in new technologies during the pandemic. I witnessed so many technologies launched in the middle of the pandemic that shows that there is trust in the printing. Still, printing is a big industry and it's not dying as we are expecting fast. Digital printing is very promising as well. So this we witnessed as well, and this shows commitment from vendors and shows positive hopes in the printing industry in general.
Okay, that's interesting. And coming to our next question, you spoke about your customers and how they are investing, brands especially, how they are investing in new technologies despite the pandemic. Did you notice any of your customers divert into new market segments or any new opportunities they identified during the pandemic?
It's for me.
Sorry?
Yeah, if I'll take this forward as well, continuation of my previous answer, I think yes. As I mentioned, because of the pressure of traditional ops and the pressure on runs, I witnessed that many customers started to think about digital printing that they never adapted before, and they are thinking now or took decision to buy this even during the pandemic because simply it's relatively not big risk or big investment. Meanwhile, it can add a lot of applications, add new customers to them, profitability. We, as Canon, we as well, to answer this question, we commissioned a very interesting insight report that was launched, I think, a couple of weeks ago, is answering the point how the print service providers is impacted because of this printing. And actually, interestingly, we made the insight report not about the print service providers. We made it about the marketing communication buyers, like marketing managers, marketing directors, marketing head, who decide which communication channel they use, and who decide what volume goes to the printing. And we found that good news that still 97% of them, we surveyed more than 230 leader in marketing, 97% still considering printing part of their communication channel. But what we witnessed as well, that they are expecting more print service providers to help them to adopt more technology and to help them to guide how to adopt printing communication in the mix of digital communication. Now everyone is online. We are online. We are talking about printing and we are online. Hopefully we can do this face-to-face in a very short time, but we are all online. So everyone is pushing towards online. So where is printing in that? So still people believe in printing and printed communication because it leaves emotions, it leaves value. It shows the customer that who received the printed communication that he's special. But how the print service provider support marketing leaders to adapt the printing in the communication or the communication mix or channel mix, this is a big role that the print service provider has to play and has to adapt and has to learn and has to educate himself or herself how to do this. So this, to be honest, is a big topic, and I am inviting everyone as well to read this insight report, because it's really interesting to know how marketing people who use printed marketing communication think about printing, and what we should do as vendors and print service provider to support them.
Thank you, Ayman. Halim, what about HP customers?
See, the way we see it is really like digital signage stood out very well during that period, and even demonstrated high level of resistance. Like some of the application, like COVID application, what we mentioned, during the discussion earlier. When it comes to decoration, as HP, we've been developing the decoration segment since quite a long time. And with COVID and the lockdown and all the restriction of movement what we faced, that sector we saw it grew significantly via the online market, and with the help of the tools that we provide with our product as HP. That was of very good help to the PSP to grow in that segment, even during that critical situation or extraordinary situation. So to some extent, yes, I do agree with Ayman. There was some new opportunities that were opened during this pandemic.
Okay, great. Philip, which segments in particular stood out for you in the large format segment? Indoor,
Right.
outdoor, yeah.
Probably three segments. The more and more now people use partition to separate offices, etc. And so there was a big demand for these kind of partition, printed partition, acrylic and stuff. There was a lot of floor signage, something that it already existed, but there was a lot of emphasis on it. Floor graphics with the signage, etc. And also safety signages that goes on walls, that goes on benches, on seats, etc. So these are probably the three biggest applications that we saw growing. A lot of vinyl printing and a lot of need for vinyl printers, typically roll-to-roll vinyl printers. That's what I see. That's what we saw. Yeah.
Thanks, Philip. What about the Epson customer, Shihab? Where did they see new opportunities?
Yeah, actually, it's almost, I would say, the same. Actually, digital signage, actually, it's as Halim mentioned, it's really showing a very strong, especially after the couple of very difficult months at the beginning of the COVID, and with a lot of floor printing and a lot of guidance, I would say. And this was helping a lot. But in additional, which is something really to highlight, we have a very important segment which is growing very fast during the COVID, and we have even a growth comparing to last year, is our labeling printing. As Ayman mentioned, the short-run printing in general, it's becoming a really important factor because of the investment, because of the need as well, because of the different variable data, I would say, when you print it. So there is a lot of reason where we're becoming the label printing or the short-run in general, people they started. And to be honest, this was our job, I would say. So everybody in this room, this was our challenge in the previous years, how to educate the customer and to give them a knowledge about the importance of converting to digital and the short run, and how we calculate for them the total cost of ownership and how they can save more, to be honest, if you look to a wider picture and to the total cost of ownership. And this was a little bit difficult, to be honest, before, because people, they still, especially in our region, again, I would say, they're still comparing with the conventional printing and how low the cost of printing, but they don't put in consideration the total cost of ownership. So anything related to a short run and converting from conventional to digital, this became really a good market for us in the last, especially in the last 6 months, I would say. So starting from the recovery point, and we have a very good demand on the label printing, on the short run printing, in addition to all the points that mentioned by the gentleman, like the digital signage, of course. We saw also a very important market, maybe worth highlighting here in this discussion. It's a new business, I would say. Again, used to be a very small, like to do some side business at home. Where people, they start finding an opportunity. You know, many people, they lost their jobs. Many people, they are feeling insecure, and they're trying to find a new business for themselves. And having, for example, a DTG machine demand is again increased a lot in the last few months because it's quite an easy investment, not very big investment. All you need is just an online platform and a couple of machines where you can produce, for example, a T-shirt. And this business can be done at home by people they're not really expert in the printing industry. So we saw a lot of demand on such an example. So not only the DTG, but any business which could be possible to be done at home, like, for example, the dye sublimation printers. Demand is a huge. Also, when it comes to printing, because of the education and even the business, most of them became remotely and from home. So the demand on these entry-level or consumer printers or entry-level dye sublimation is also increased a lot in the last 6 months. So as I mentioned, it is very difficult here, but any crisis is having their opportunities as well. And I think we are here as a technology owners, if I'm allowed to say that, because we own technologies, we develop product, and we have innovations. It's not about just selling the boxes. This is our job, actually, how to understand the market better, how understand the demand of the customer and the new way of business, I would say. Either it is an online, a hybrid, or going back to face-to-face, but the needs are different now than 1 year ago or 2 years ago, and nobody expected that even. So the faster we adapt with this new norm, I would say, and including a lot of new technologies and new solutions offered to our customers, I think will help all of us to grow this market again and go back to normal. Yeah, so I think I just wanted to add these couple of segments in the end user point of view.
That's very interesting that you brought up fabric printing is something that you noticed was being picked up, especially by emerging businesses. So my next question, Philip, is according to you, how is printing on textile developing in the MEA region? What is the technology that people are going for in terms of fabric?
Yeah, pretty much what Shihab just described, Akanksha. There's certainly a continuation of the sublimation printing, which is a big chunk, and the smaller direct-to-garment print. But what we are seeing is, again, the same trend, where you're going towards lower speed, lower size, not as wide, probably not as many, 1.6, 1.8, more towards the 60 to 60 centimeter to 100 centimeter, lower speed, lower productivity. This is probably what we're seeing. And it's no surprise. I mean, if you look at the market has shrunk. The textile market across the world has shrunk, and certainly in the Middle East has shrunk. And therefore, volumes have come down, and that goes for lower productivity printers. So very much what Shihab described, lower productivity, lower sizes, lower, a bit less expensive. But certainly dye sublimation is a fantastic technology, and it's very affordable, and that's we continue and see that trend.
Yeah, the initial investment is lower than expected. So
what about from HP's perspective, Halim?
See, frankly, the way we see it on fabric, we can say it's a somehow different dynamic. Like that business in certain area is more about soft signage, flags in some regions, some countries, where not in fashion, while in other country it's completely the opposite. So it varies from region to region. As HP, our offering is more on the dye sub, where we target garment, fashion, in addition to the soft signage, with the total switch solution what we have. So as we said, we cannot say it's all the way in all the country. It's really varies depending on each country, what is their requirement. But overall, we have the solution that covers all the current requirement.
Okay. Ayman, where do you think the regional interests align in terms of fabric printing in MEA?
In Canon, we don't, textile or fabric printing is not our core offering. Yes, we have Colorado. Colorado 1650 is our roll-to-roll machine, can handle some fabrics, and especially for, as Halim mentioned, is for soft signage, but it's not a textile printer. From my experience in the industry, I think I'm not that expert to talk about textile printing. I think the gentleman here probably Mr. Fleeb has long time in this as well. I think this industry is all in the it was growing, I think, before the pandemic, but now the disruption that the pandemic did actually made new trends, and how the trend after the pandemic or the new normal, or as we want to name it, how the trend after this deep dive in the market and the demand and the shock, how the recovery and the pace of recovery for textile and other than textile will be. This we are all witnessing. I think I'm positive that actually usually after deep drop in the economy and in the demand and in numbers, usually there is a bounce back coming. So everyone now is questioning, this bounce back will be a V shape bounce back or U shape bounce back. We are all hoping here for V shape bounce back. Some products might make that V shape, hopefully. I think some products was not that badly affected, even sometimes positively affected, like signage, like we all agreed here, was positively affected because of the COVID-related applications and advisory signage and so on. Some other products might have V shape, like digital printing, for example. Some other product might stabilize, like I think might be offset, or so this we are witnessing and see how the recovery will be from volume, from selling hardware and so on. But I'm expecting textile to recover fast as well, because textile printing from digital point of view, with comparison to the traditional way of printing in textile and fabrics, is a good trend, and it has a lot of good application from, again, if we are talking about digital, so we're talking about short runs and personalization, customization, and so on, and this is very highly needed in all aspects today. So that's why I'm positive to have a V shape as well in fabric and textile printing.
Thanks, Ayman.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Perhaps I could
Absolutely.
add a few things to what Ayman said, and give some numbers. And yes, across the world, when you look at the total textile market, digital nowadays represent more than between 8 and 10% of a huge market, and that's quite significant. But just also add to what Ayman said. When you look at the InfoSource figures, unfortunately I only have the 9 months from 2020. When you look at the InfoSource figure on large format, the drop is between 50 and 60%, whether you look at Saudi or UAE, etc. And if you look at the textile, it's the segment that has dropped the least. As a matter, if you look, for example, in Saudi, in fact, it hasn't dropped. But of course, Saudi is a small textile market. But even in the UAE, whereas the whole market dropped by 50 to 60%, the textile, I think they say, dropped by 17%. So, I think it was Halim who was talking about resilience. Well, this is resilience. When the whole market drops 50% and your segment drops 17%, that's a good performance. So sorry, I wanted to throw some numbers at you, since we have already some of the InfoSource statistics from last year.
No, that's very interesting.
Also to
Yeah,
add
please,
to that,
please.
actually, to gentlemen what you said. So the textile is a perfect example of the opportunities that came in, because as Philip just mentioned now, a huge part of the textile is still on the conventional way, and they are not converted to a digital. So we are still around 8 to 10. To be honest, in some of the countries are much less even, and this is like a global number when you're speaking about the digital part. Because if you speak of Italy, maybe a little bit different when you speak about textile industry. But this is here the opportunity is coming. Actually, the textile is still in a very big investment, I would say, a very long run. I mean, very big high production, which is not required anymore. And this is making speed up, to be honest, the conversion from the conventional to a digital in our region. And we noticed that actually, even if the people, they don't have the right investment amount to invest today, or they are a little bit worried, I would say, because still the situation not very stable and they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But this is speed up the way of thinking, I would say, and how the customer think about converting to digital. And now they are realizing and they're confirming this is the future of the textile. It's not anymore the conventional. And to be honest, the digital also printing, taking a very good steps actually. I would say starting from 2003 till today, there's a lot of development on the digital textile happening. And digital textile now, when it's coming to our costs and to speed as well, it's become really very high level, very close to the conventional. And it's became, to be honest, very, very logical to convert now. And this is maybe the right time for the investment for many, many of these companies. So I think this is one of the opportunity, what I just said at the beginning of the conversation, that any crisis will create their opportunities. And I think we have to look very close to this, to understand, to analyze the market, and to see how we can use this crisis as an opportunity for us to develop more the market and our customer needs, and offer them a better solution for their future.
That's a very interesting point, Shihab. Thanks. Coming to our next question, you spoke about how the digital printing is growing in volumes, and there are new applications of digital printing that we are seeing in the market. Since you are a digital print super brand in the region, what trend did you see in buying of technology? Was it UV? Did you see roll to roll or hybrid or flatbed being demanded the most? What do you think, Philip? Would you like to take this first?
Sure. You know, again, on the same trend, you get more vinyl printing, and then you get a bit of demand on the roll-to-roll printers. Likewise on flatbed. Look, and we're going to touch on packaging in a second, but we see a lot of new application that can be done on flatbed, whereas flatbed was not designed for these applications, simply because the volume came down and suddenly prototyping is important, small runs, short runs, and then suddenly these slow flatbeds are capable of doing these kind of applications. So that's pretty much along the same trend. Huh? So more vinyl printing, but also a lot more prototyping, volumes coming down, and therefore more applications coming onto the flatbed printers. At least that's what we see for us in our business.
Thanks, Philip. Ayman, what do you think of the topic?
I think last year actually it was a little bit not clear here. Sometimes, and I think towards Q4 market started to pick up a bit. As I mentioned, we witnessed some good volume in toner based production, because as I mentioned, the lower or shorter runs of offset traditional made many customers think about adopting digital printing, and they started with toner based because it's relatively low investment and low risk, because again the customer is not willing now to take big risks. But when and actually this helped us, to be honest, as Canon, especially in this professional printing area and large format area, to gain good market share in that area. But we witnessed that beginning of 2021, despite the second wave, there is a positive view. We found like customers are more willing to take decision now. Good demand especially in roll to roll. Last year, roll to roll 1.6 market dropped by around 32% as per InfoSource. However, the volume from our what we witnessed for our direct operations, at least the volume grew compared to 2019, and that shows that customers has volume, but they are reluctant to take decision now in 2020. But we found that those customers started to think in 2021 with positive view. As you know, in our region, we are having Expo is confirmed. The steps that many of the Gulf countries is taking is trying to give confidence to customers, like we are recovering, we are coming back. I think UAE is doing a big job here, trying to push event like GITEX to give confidence to the customer that we are going back to that normal, taking all the required measures. But this gives 2021 customer more positive hope to start investing, to take opportunity of the coming big events like Expo, World Cup, and so many big activities coming, especially in the Gulf area. So I see 2021 is coming hopefully in a positive way so far, Jan and Feb. I see a good demand in flatbed because as well in this year, because interior decoration was one of the growing area, because learning from home and working from home, we got bored of our home after sitting almost 12 months at home. So people started to change or to think about starting from fine art, changing the fine art that they see every day, to changing their wallpaper, to changing their decoration folly. So that put good applications and good volume actually for interior decor business. And people started to change houses. I found during, especially in Dubai, I changed my house during the pandemic. Actually, after I spent like almost 7-8 months inside the house, I changed it. So many people I found even good in the furniture business. It's out of scope, but I noticed that furniture business during the pandemic, I thought like this might be the worst affected business. I found that good transaction because people are trying to change. So that drove some volume for wallpaper, for roll-to-roll, I think significantly. Flatbed as well, to print in different kind of substrates for decoration. It drove some good application and volume. So I think those areas I witnessed, especially beginning of 2021, people are willing to take some serious action towards investing in those products.
Halim, what do you think? What buying trends did HP notice?
See, from our side, I can say as HP, we have always, there are always tools, solution we used to adapt to every situation, like the situation what we currently or recently faced. For example, we have the first hybrid latex with the brightest white in the market we introduced, and it's doing good. We also has a big portfolio of product going from flexible roll to roll, rigid cutting solution. So this can assign or can address any needs currently available in the market, and definitely open a new application for the PSPs or for the end user. But in general, I can say it's all moving, selling, based on the current requirement.
Thanks, Halim. So since we all agree here that the applications of large format printing are growing every day. In fact, as Ayman said, there are applications that we did not even expect to grow during the pandemic, but they did. So considering small businesses, do you think hybrid is the way to go forward instead of a dedicated roll-to-roll or a flatbed?
It's a space saving. Yeah, it's a space saving measure. It's a bit cheaper to invest into hybrid as opposed to 2 units. But you still have people who would always tell you, look, a flatbed has to be real flat and a roll to roll has to be real roll. And then others who don't have that big of a volume who can do it. But it certainly saves space. It's nowadays real estate is still expensive.
Absolutely. What do you think, Shihab?
Yeah, actually, we can divide it into two actually when you look at the customers. I mean, what the customer demand and to follow the demand, as the gentleman mentioned, like some of the segment it's a requirements and you have to fulfill the market requirement. And the other part, which is really important, is how to create a demand. and how to understand the market need, because we are here as an expert, as a consultant in the market. We should advise the customer what to do, how they can save money on the long run, how they can move from a technology to a technology, for example, even in one brand. Actually, I'm not saying, for example, to shift from brand to brand. Maybe in the same brand, as Philippe mentioned, for example, saving maybe money by having a hybrid product instead of having two, or having a print and cut in one machine instead of having two machines, or having two machines is more effective. So if you notice, like, we can mention a lot of examples how we can create a demand for a customer by giving them something new, a new solution. And actually, we've been also in a crisis in 2008, not that bad, but I was also in Epson during that time, and I noticed that we really survived during this crisis without even a drop in any business, and we grew in most of the business segments when it's coming to the commercial and industrial product. And the reason, because at that time we launched a lot of product and solution, as Halim mentioned. So launching a new product and new solution to the customer, of course, this is not coming in one day. I mean, we're not going to think about a product yesterday and we launch it tomorrow. It is part of a lot of analysis in the market and the market need, the market demand. And this is exactly the same happened with us in Epson. And I think all the gentlemen, they will agree as well. We are part of our innovation and research and development. It's happening over years. We expected somehow how the market trend is going and which direction. Of course, we didn't expect to COVID to happen and change this everything in that fast and this pace, I would say. But we are expecting how the shift in the market. So as we mentioned at the beginning, the conversion from the conventional to digital, it is all of us, we agree. I mean, and all of us are digital printing owners, I would say, or technology owners. So therefore, the digital printers became very important. Maybe, as I said, it's just to speed it up. So we launched a lot of product in the last 6 months or 8 months. It was, to be honest, a big year when it's coming to our product. And we launched product in two directions, actually. Product to replace the very high volume and print volume production machines and conventional to convert to digital. And also from a very low level, as I mentioned like a few minutes ago, when it's coming, for example, to home users or business from home, very small and medium offices where they require a very low investment in new technology, and to get the same result of the very, let's say, proper large format or proper production machine, to have it on a smaller investment, smaller size, smaller scale, as Philippe mentioned a couple of times, that people, they look maybe for a lower print volume, lower production, but giving them the same results. So they don't want to sacrifice in quality and to the, let's say, the final product or the final output, but they will they maybe they sacrifice on speed because there's not that the same volume available like last year it's available now. So I think our success, and we can go through this crisis, is by always offering a solution better than just offering a product. Following the demand, of course, which is important, but in my opinion, the most important thing is to create a demand and to understand the market need from marketing point of view, from a sales point of view, and how we can adapt these together and give them a solution that will help them in their business. One of the points I just mentioned at the beginning is, for example, sustainability or a green product. This is a topic that maybe it was not really highlighted before enough in our region, and I would say especially some countries in our region, they are not even mentioning it at all. And today it's becoming important because the health now is becoming really important. I mean, we stayed at home for almost 3 months or 4 months, like, or the whole world are fully shut down, and we saw the impact on our health, the impact on our environment. Some of the countries even look better actually when you look at it, because it's cleaner, there is no cars, there is no pollution happening in some other city. And to be honest, we cannot ignore that. I mean, people, they start thinking about sustainable product, they're thinking about a green product, and we saw a lot of requests from the customers about how green this product. Can we have this certificate or that certificate to mention that we can use this print here or we can use it there? How we can save energy in our house? Because again, energy is money end of the day, so it's a cost for any industry. So instead of operating a huge machine with a huge industry, how they can save this by offering a new technology or a smaller size or converting to digital from conventional. So we saw a lot of requirements from the customer, different requirements. Therefore, I cannot say only this segment is good and this segment is bad, and it's keep changing depending on what you're offering to the customer and how you adapt to the customer.
Interesting. Thanks, Shihab. Coming to our next question, I would like to know what about the packaging applications? Did any of you notice use of digital print machinery for packaging? Are any of your customers doing packaging?
I think packaging was one of the most positively impacted applications during pandemic because of growth in e-commerce and home delivery. So that put a lot of packaging and label printing, if I may say, because suddenly we are all at home and we have to buy all our goods from grocery to electronic, everything was e-commerce. So in that sense, packaging grew a lot, and because of e-commerce and this ones and twos and customized packaging that is required, I think digital packaging played a good role in that sense. And my expectation as well that most of the vendors will be looking at the packaging, digital packaging, from my point of view, as one of the potential growth area, and labeling as well. Yes, we have. Again, we don't have this clear packaging machine, but we have, from our image press technology, we have many customers are using it to print like packaging for very short runs, customized, personalized as well. But in general, I think corrugated packaging, for example, as a result of Amazon or Noon or all these big e-commerce, they drove big volume for packaging as a result of the spike happened in the e-commerce and online shopping and home delivery as well.
Halim, you were going to add something?
See, the current part of HP portfolio we cover is more for proofing and high quality print on demand customization packaging, as Ayman said. So that's definitely, it's increasing. We can see it increasing, but I cannot frankly comment much on the packaging application as a whole. It's a field we're not in. We're only in the on-demand customization, which we see it a field growing all the way.
Right. Shihab, Philip, what are your opinions on packaging applications?
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of it done on flatbeds, as I said earlier, but it's only prototyping, small, very high quality, extremely high quality print, but for the high-end segment and very low volume. That's what we're seeing on the flatbeds.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and digital packaging itself, we don't have a machine for digital packaging actually, but as Halim and Ayman mentioned, we are more into proofing side due to our proofing machine. So we are involved in the packaging somehow, because we have also a packaging proofing device with a white ink, and we saw an increased demand during the 6 months for different reasons actually. One of them is the short run and the more of the packaging that's happening, the e-commerce growing in the market. And the other part of the packaging, which is the label, digital label, we saw a huge growth, to be honest. It's not, and I can say it's the best year, to be honest, for us this year, despite all the situation that happened, because digital label became very important. And also we gained some market from the conventional label, because I would say that the runs became much shorter, but the volume much higher. So you have a lot of more labels required, but in a shorter run, because there is a lot of variable data, customize, even the label go with the name of the customer. A lot of new brands, a lot of small, I would say, brands are started now during this crisis and during the COVID situation. So the digital label is a very, very big market, and it's really growing. And I can say that the digital packaging, I will assume it's also growing, because of our proofing part is really growing the last 6 months or 8 months. And one of the really fast recovery, I would say, is the proofing segment.
That's great to hear, Shihab. So For the next question, I would like to ask about technology trends. What are your opinions on technology trends, Halim? Maybe you can start with the question. Do you see automation as a major trend? What do you think?
See, so if we talk especially on the high production environment, we see the benefit of better automation aimed to streamline the overall production processes. For example, in our HP portfolio, we include remote control capabilities through PrintOS cloud-based software that enable such tools and such type of management. This will help the customer to remotely control their production for improving the overall automation and efficiency. So I can say definitely automation, is one directive we are taking, and that's a demand in the market which we are continuously focusing on and investing in.
Thanks, Halim. What about you, Philip? What do you think of the upcoming trends that we may see in MEA?
Yes. Listen, automation is absolutely inevitable, yeah, and we're going more and more towards that. But it's certainly taken a bit of a hit in 2020. It has certainly slowed down a bit. We are seeing less investment, at least in our customers, less investment in automation tools, less investment. It will come back. There's a certain trend, certainly that's there. There would be less human intervention, less labor, less visits of engineers, etc. But I must say, in 2020, people were reluctant to invest along these lines. That's my take into that.
What are your thoughts, Ayman, on what Mr. Philip and Halim just said?
I think, and I'll take it from customer point of view. What happened? Because let's go back to what happened to all of us and the customer again. For some quite good time, we were not able to reach our offices, or even the print service provider was not able to reach his even print shop, and even his operators as well were not able to reach. So I think worldwide now the trend and the consideration on how to avoid such a similar scenario. So two things: the owner or the print service provider was not able to reach his venue. The customer was not able to send his print job to the print service provider. So two things back to back. So, and this drives thoughts and need for automation, even for finishing, pre-press, press, and so on, to make sure that I can access my print shop remotely. I think worldwide, Europe and US now are considering robotics to do this, because if I'm not able from a human point of view because of lockdown to reach my facility, how can I make it running without even I'm there? How can I monitor what is going there? How can I access and see? So this kind of level, I'm talking about a very highly sophisticated, but this now is under discussion, and how to adapt this technology, because not able to reach my business for 3 months is not easy. Especially there is a cost, there is salaries, there is a lot of things. Second, every one of us now and the customer of print service providers, all of us, we are very e-commerce online. How to adapt online and how to receive and to submit the job online is another thing, part of the automation that can give the customer experience, and even to have accessibility of the print service provider for 24/7. This another area we witnessed already. We started to witness growth and demand, especially web to print area, and might not be the automation and the operational level is not really now. We see the big growth, but still, I think the trend that started in Europe and US for automating the operation will come to us very soon. But web to print specifically, now we see good demand in this area specifically.
With that, I come to my next question. Continuing our discussion on trends, Shihab, what do you think are going to be the economic and demographic trends that we may see say personalization, maybe more interactive packaging, and how do you think that will impact the demand for digital printing?
Yeah, maybe I'll start this with some numbers actually. I mean, according to a survey which is we did on last December, that 91% of Middle East employees they are expecting to a total change, especially when it's coming to a shared devices or to the interaction with the printers, interaction with other people, the way they work. We saw many offices that are really not even going back to their offices. Some of them they already announced. Some of the big companies they announced that forever. They said we will never go back to offices. If we can manage all our business remotely. So if you think about these numbers that's happening now and these surveys are going around everywhere. So the way of business is totally changed, and which has required a lot of automation, a lot of new trends, a lot of new technology to adapt with this new situation. Even from health and safety, actually measurement. I mean, contactless, for example, social distance in the offices, in government. Now you can see even in the last few weeks, a couple of weeks, like even in the UAE, like the government, they announced if you don't have the vaccine, if you don't have the PCR, you're not allowed even to visit the offices, for example, for a meeting, just for a meeting. Thinking about that, I mean, the automation will be very important, and the trend and the technology also, it will adapt with that. And we actually in Epson, I would say, as a technology owners, again, because we are developer of our own technologies, even our devices, and having the robotic division is really growing very fast in the last few years, and we saw huge growth happening during the COVID, because one of the fastest growing business that we have is our robotic division. We have our robots where we manufacture our machines and use for different industries, for manufacturing and for industrial applications, and we saw a lot of demand actually coming even from education point of view. Actually, people they start here, for example, in Ministry of Education, they start including the robots in their studies and their curriculum. And this is all changing the way. Even changing the ink and maintain the machine, they are thinking about. Still early, I think, and this is a very long-term maybe plan. But again, the COVID maybe speed up that. But even thinking about repairing things, self-repair. I mean, we just launched a program a couple of months ago for most of our high production machine with the self-repair services. So no need even to have an engineer to visit you and repair the machine for you. A very high value product and very high production also machine. You could do the service yourself. You can replace your printhead yourself. You can replace many of the spare parts yourself without even require any tools, with a minimum reach to the machinery or interaction with some people coming from outside the company. So print services, for example, without the automation and without the development and the automation, it will be very challenging now actually, how to send people, interact with them, getting an agreement. We are sometimes not in our offices, so web to print is very important. Having the self-repair is very important. Replace some of the manpower with some robotics and automated services is also very important. So I think it's a trend. It will not be in a day and time, and that suddenly we can have everything automated and technology are changing. But I think it's a new trend, of course, and we saw these changes even in our industry. That a lot of new requirement coming in the market that we never heard about it before, when it's related to automated and the minimum reach to the machine and minimum reach to the technology.
What do you think, Philip? How can the demand, the trends, the upcoming trends in the industry, how can they influence the demand for digital printing machines?
It's not been very good. I mean, the fact that malls and commercial centers have been locked and have been restricted was not beneficial for the signage industry, specifically the digital printing signage. So that didn't help. That's and that's a worldwide trend. People are not going into malls anymore. When you look at the US, young generation are not going to malls any longer. This is where their fathers and the older generation used to go. So from that point of view, that's not a good trend for digital printing. Also, what you see, of course, is the digital panels. I mean, these LED screens, etc. So that's affecting it a bit. I think to reverse that trend would be difficult. I don't think it's possible. I see that as a one-way trend. We can help maintain a presence. Customers have to weigh the benefits of having digital print out, digital decoration. Physical as opposed to these screens, etc. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's unfortunately it's not easy. Not easy in 2021 retaining all this signage.
What do you think, Ayman and Halim?
I think I might I might not fully agree with Mr. Philippe. Probably I might looking more. I think agree with Mr. Philippe in the pandemic. Everything was frozen. It's clear. It was very bad for all of us. But I think for retail industry in specific, for two reasons. First of all, after the market was open back, or we are back to life, going back to the street, and the shopping malls were open back again. I think the tendency of the retail industry to recover increased number of campaigns and tried to put some investment. So the frequency, for example, in campaigns and sale and in-store activation, and drove some good volumes. This is beside the advisory signage that I talked about, that was there during the pandemic itself, or the lockdown itself, if I may say. But after that, I saw that the retail industry, I think Shihab, Halim can comment on this as well. The retail industry put a lot of effort in the promotions and campaigns and activation in store. Even they started to adopt floor signage, the advisory signage, even to try to bring the customer back, because again, e-commerce is took for 3 months 100% market share or market from in-store sales. So now in-store sales and shopping malls are trying to recover back, and they are trying to bring the customer back to their store. And again, from my point of view, still during the weekend and these activities, still shopping is an experience. Yes, I might be buying a lot of my stuff online, but I still go to the store and I still enjoying making physical shopping. And otherwise, I'll stay my whole life inside a closed room doing everything online, buying online, working online, learning online. Mentally and psychologically, we cannot as a human being to take this. So that's why still the physical activities has to come back. It will come back. We cannot stay. Yeah, we might be more productive now working online. Our meetings, we shrink the topic that we used to discuss it in a couple of hours. We can finish it in 30 minutes online meeting. But we cannot live all our lives online in closed room in capsules. We have to go back to life. We have to have physical events, exhibitions. We have to go to the shopping mall. All this has to come back. Otherwise, when we will use our cars, all this has to come back. Otherwise, the economy will collapse. So the driving force from governments, from human being nature, and so on, to make this back, I think this will bring the physical activity. And I feel, as I mentioned, from our volumes, at least flatbed and roll to roll, I'll talk about, and even toner production print, we witnessed during Q4 big recovery because of this tendency, from my point of view, to go back to normal, if I may say, life, and the pushing towards that direction.
That's an interesting point, Ayman. Yeah, Halim, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just I believe we all agree here that the printing industry is really changing, and changing a lot. No doubt. I think we all agree on this. The point what I would like to add is really like we can see like high quality with high level of customization and flexibility will be required in the future more and more. That's the trend. That's the way we see it. Looking at the same time at other point, I would like to mention there is high demand on contractual lease, MPS, and this is, maybe due to, which Ayman, I believe he mentioned in the beginning, to more pressure on finance and cash flow management. That, so contractual leasing, management print surfaces, we see it, that's a trend, and that's a future thing, not future, actually, it's now we have to look at.
Thanks, Ayman. Coming to our last question of this roundtable, now I would like all of you to share your opinions. What message do you have for the wider print industry in these especially difficult and changing times? Would you like to start, Philip? Sorry, Ayman, please go ahead.
Mr. Philip, go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you. You're not going to like this, Ayman. Number one, well, improve service as a key differentiator. Improve service, that's definitely.
100%.
Number two, Ayman, listen, lower prices. Number three, delayed payments. So I think three messages. Yeah, we have to. But when I say improve service, I mean for everybody across the chain, across the whole. So print service providers have to improve their service. The service, or rather, printer providers have to improve their service across. So it's got to be a whole effort across the line. Reduce prices, basically offer cheaper alternative. People have short-term outlook nowadays. People don't want to invest for 10 years. They're looking for return in a year and a half. And thus the importance of deferred payments. Sorry, just very short. Hi, Ayman.
Very good one.
Ayman, you wanted to add your opinion?
I think we will summarize what we discussed. Actually, as we all agreed here, everything is changing. Printing industry is changing dramatically, like anything else. Printing industry is huge. It's very big. We're talking about almost $1 trillion worldwide. It's big industry, and printing is not dying. Is not going to die. Still, printing is needed somehow. Digital printing has big potential. My advice only, again, if I refer back to the insight report that we just launched, my advice to the print service providers, if you will wait for the business to come and your customer to knock your door to submit his print job or her print job, this might not happen again. So you have to think differently. You think proactively. You have to be part of the business of your customers and to understand what is their priorities. Now, like you as a print service provider, think about cash flow, about profitability, about efficiency, about your customer is thinking the same. So how to support him reaching more customers, get from you value for money, add printing as part of his business and communication mix. This needs a lot of effort from you, and you have to understand what's your customer doing, because most likely the dynamics of the printing industry will not come back again to the good volumes that everybody is enjoying. And so you have to add value, quality, as Halim and the team said, quality, personalization, customization, understand marketing dynamics and how to incorporate this. This a lot of effort that print service provider has to do. Think about digital printing. If you are big one, think about commercial inkjet as well, because it can provide a lot of flexibility, a lot of faster turnaround, cost efficiency, personalization, customization. So this is my message actually to the printing industry, but I'm still positive that printing is not dying. Printing is still on. It is huge, and it's not easy to die like that.
Absolutely. Shahab?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very clear, the message to the printing industry. I mean, as Ayman said, if you summarize all what we discussed, Ayman, Philippe, and Halim during this roundtable discussion, this is our message. The message very clear from all what we discussed, and different maybe point of view if we agree or we don't agree, but the printing industry has changed. This is for sure. But we have to look at it from a positive point of view. I think that the volume maybe is not like before, but the profitability and the value is much higher. So maybe I will not agree really with Philippe about the prices point, because we have to understand that value is not a price. It's not anymore a price fight, because if you're gonna think about price fighting in this market, to be honest, all of us around this table, because again, we are maybe a technology leaders, will be a losers actually, because there's always somebody can offer something cheaper, but it's not the same value. So what I'm trying to say, the value is very important. We have to offer our customers and to help them, and of course we'll help each other because we are in the same boat. How we go across this one, and we adapt with a new technology and adapt with a new way of printing. I would say it's the printing dynamic is totally different now. So maybe you can see a market which is mentioned by the gentleman is growing and having more value and more profit, which is very important subject, by the way. The profitability is very important. And maybe you can see some industries are dying, which is not a problem at all. I mean, these I would say technology every generation is happening. This technology shift. I mean, if you take an example of mobile phones and the communications, and if you can see in the last 20 or 30 years, the amount of changes that happen, and we saw many companies that went out of the picture, many companies, they came to the picture of the communication and mobile phone, for example, because they've been able to adapt with a new way. And this is what we have to do. And so my message actually to the printing industry, that we know the printing could change, but we are here as a technology owners to find a solution to increase the profitability, to increase the value, and to have a better total cost of ownership, I would say, not the prices, but total cost of ownership, to help them to do a better business actually and deliver a better message to the customer. As I mentioned, the total is different. Now the retail are back, maybe not like before. You will not see the same demand and everything when it's coming to a face-to-face retail, not an online, not the e-commerce. But at the same time, to grab the customers again, you need to attract them more. You have to attract them with a new printing technology, new colors. As Halim mentioned, for example, the launch of the latex with the brightest white available in the market. I mean, this doesn't launch for no reason actually. It's launched because we can see that we can add value to the printout, not a normal print that we used to have in the last 10, 15 years. Same by adding some special colors, some metallic, red, a lot of things. I mean, we are in the industry and we know the market needs. So the way of printing a change, we are a technology owner here to help our customer to increase the profitability, to adapt with a new way of work, and stay positive, I would say. Not in the COVID days, but positive, I mean, in the thinking. I think we have to be positive, because I agree, Ayman, 100% that the printing industry is not dying. It is changing, of course. And by the way, this changing happened a lot even in the previous, but maybe it's not happened in that short period. Therefore, we didn't feel it that much. It's happened on the longer term. And the simplest example is changing from conventional to digital. It's happening in the last 15 years. All the gentlemen, I'm sure they've been in Drupal 15 years ago or 16 years. And they've been in the last version of Drupal, which is 4 years ago. And they saw the difference actually. What type of machine used to be in that exhibition and what's now, and how big the exhibition used to be before and how it is now. So it's again changing, but in a positive way, I think. And I think we're lucky actually to have the gentleman here and these beautiful and wonderful brands in the market. And I think we are helping each other because we are educating the customer and the benefit coming back to all of us.
Halim, do you have any positive words for the industry?
I definitely, definitely positive. I do agree to most of the positive points. So it's a message of optimism, solid recovery, growth. That's the way we see it, and that's the way we want it. It has been proven actually that this wide format industry and the PSP business is very, I repeat, resilience in reacting to this global crisis that has been proven. Our customers have been able to rebuild themselves, developing a new application, as we mentioned in many aspects and during the discussion, and even to have new business opportunities. So we see it, and that was very obvious between all of us. At HP, we are proud to see that our technology and solution have been helping them in this journey while continue to equip them to win big. So, and hopefully, we'll continue all the growth. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me today. I would now like to hand it over to Basil.
Thank you, Akanksha.
Yes, we've now come to the end of our discussion. So I'd like to thank you all, our panel members and the chair, for giving their time today. It's been a fascinating hearing different perspectives from print super brands such as you, and having the opportunity to come together on this platform to share our experience from the last few months. If anyone else is watching this and would like to put a question across to the panel, then you can contact us through the email address on the description below on the YouTube channel. Yes, and thank you for watching. Thank you everybody for participating. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Basil.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
See you all then. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.